Namaste. Today we have Dr. Basant Tariyal ji at World Hindu News Hindu Talk Show. Dr. Basant Tariyal ji, it's a privilege to have you at World Hindu News Hindu Talk Show.
Thank you, Rahul, for inviting me here. And indeed, it is my pleasure and privilege to be with you.
Thank you, Dr. Basant Tariyal ji. I'd like to introduce you to our about Dr. Basant Tariyal. Dr. Basant Tariyal ji is technologist with expertise in fiber optics and intellectual property, and he retired from Lucent Technology as Vice President in charge of Optical Fiber Group. He is also a devout Hindu and has been active in Hindu organization for the last 35 years. Basant Tariyal ji, I would like to start with the question we have, like, how did you get involved with Hindu groups?
Well, when I came to this country, I found out that this country is, the Christian people here, and they're all fairly devout Christians. And I gradually realized that I am a Hindu, and I should know more about our Hindu heritage and all that. And then I came across Sri Gokul Kunnath, who is a Hindu activist here. He was a very young teenager at the time, and he took me to a meeting where they had invited Sri Bhedeji from Vishwa Hindu Parishad, and they gave a talk. And I was really impressed by what they wanted to do, and I volunteered myself for the service. And then I became, me and Gokulji established the Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America's Atlanta chapter, and that was the beginning. That's the way it started.
Thank you, Dr. Basant Tariyal ji. Next question I have is, what are some of the Hindu organizations you have been associated with?
Of course, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, the first one, which we started. Then I got into Bal Bihar for Vishwa Hindu Parishad. I got involved with the Children's Youth Camp, again a Hindu youth camp for the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Established a Bharat Awareness Forum to deal with the Hindu and issues in this country. I became part of India-America Cultural Organization, where I fought for a center for a temple, and that was successful. And then I got involved with Ekal Vidyalaya Foundation, which I am one of the founders of the Ekal Vidyalaya Foundation here. On the asking by Ashok Singhal ji, who is the current Vishwa Hindu Parishad president. And then I got involved with Rajiv Malhotra's organization, Infinity Foundation. And right now, I'm trying to work on establishing a foundation for the support of secondary and vocational education in India, because there's a tremendous need of that in the border areas and rural areas, where the children should have a path to become productive citizens of the country.
It was a very interesting association you had. What are your current activities for the Hindu cause? Would you like to update us?
Well, currently I am Director of Academic Affairs for USHA, and under that, we arrange seminars, educational materials. We keep track of the anti-Hindu organizations. I'm trying to invite people from India who have been very active in reforming the curriculum in the colleges and the schools in India. And there's a tremendous amount of attack in the academia here on Hindus. And many Hindus don't even realize it because it's so sophisticated. So I am in the activities which fight that, and that's the reason I support Rajiv Malhotra's foundation, for example. And now I'm trying to, as I say, invite Sri Batraji and Atul Kothari from India, who are very, very active in defending the factual history of India.
Okay.
Okay.
By Batra, you mean Dr. Dinanath Batra?
Yes,
Okay.
Dina Batra, and you might be aware that all of a sudden all the anti-Hindu forces are writing against him.
Yes.
Okay, and so I have known him for a long time now. I support him fully in his battle in the courts, and he took up Wendy Doniger issue after I mentioned that we need to do it, and he was successful in banning the book by Wendy Doniger, Hindus and Alternate History.
Okay, the Hindus and alternate history.
Right.
Okay. What risk you see? You said that the books, those are academia, is
Yeah.
publishing defamatory, biased content
Yeah.
in books in United States. What risk American Hindus face in such scenarios? And most of them may not be aware of such academia. What are the risks and dangers they may face in future, current?
Okay, in the top universities here, in order to teach anything, become an assistant professor, you need a PhD. And so what happens is, if you want a professor of Hinduism in any of the universities, you have to have a PhD in Hinduism. Now, in India, they don't offer any such thing. So what happens is, we have now, good universities like Harvard and, Emory, people who are teaching Hinduism, and they're completely anti-Hindu. And all these people came from one school, Chicago School of Divinity, and they all did their PhDs under Wendy Doniger, who's the mother of all of these. We call them mother, these people, Wendy's children.
Okay.
And you can imagine if they're anti-Hindu, how can they teach Hindu values? And then they write books. Excuse me for saying it, but like Jeffrey Kripal, he got his PhD, and his theme of his thesis the subject was that Ramakrishna Paramahansa was a homosexual, and he has homosexual relationship with Vivekananda. I mean, such outrageous content, and he becomes a professor, and you can imagine what he'll teach. And these
Right.
things are published.
Right.
Okay. Paul Courtwright in Emory University wrote a book on Ganesha, Shri Ganesh, and it's a filthy, filthy book. I mean, like you would be ashamed to even read from it in a normal party.
Right.
So we fought against it, and the book was taken off, and he was not allowed to teach in what happens is, when Wendy Doniger writes, and they have become, by default, by our default, they have become the experts.
Okay.
So they are quoted in the media, they are quoted in the encyclopedias, and so they are writing all these bad things about, almost evil things about Hindu Dharma, and when our children go to the schools and colleges,
Right.
that's what they read. So there's a tremendous amount of inferiority complex which goes into these students.
Okay.
And then the general student population, if the rest of the Americans are in the same
Right.
course, they start looking down on us. So it has a tremendous impact on that. And you can imagine if somebody who has inferiority complex, it affects his performance in the life. Okay. And I have verified this from my students from Rutgers University, and they tell us what they go through.
So that's the inferiority complex that may build up, and that is building up because of this academia.
Exactly. And in the masses, there's a sort of, they look down on Hindus
Okay.
because of all this. So in spite of the fact that we are the richest and most successful community in the United States today,
Right.
most educated,
Yes.
there are people who still think that we are strange animals. And all this is because of this tremendous amount of academic attack on us.
Thank you, Dr. Basant Tariyal ji. It's a far-sighted cycle of issues, and hope American Hindus support such organizations like Rajiv Malhotraji's foundation, United States Hindu Alliance, who are fighting such forces. What's your passion?
At this stage of my life,
Yeah.
because I'm past 70 years, I don't work for money anymore, so I have limited resources both in terms of my physical energy and money. And so whatever limited resources I have, I want to devote them for the cause of Hindus. And basically, that's my passion. Okay. And I can give you reasons for that, because I think with the current situation, you're all aware of this, latest is ISIS
Right.
crisis, and the exclusive philosophies, by definition, will lead to a conflict. By that I mean the Abrahamic religions.
Yes.
They're exclusive, so by definition they're going to have a conflict. Okay, it's either me or you.
Okay.
Both can't be right.
Right.
Okay. Whereas Hindu philosophy, Hindu dharma, is the one which provides you freedom of thought and action.
Okay.
Okay. We are the only ones who provide that. And classic example I give is Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna, in all the 18 chapters, 700 verses, he keeps on arguing with Arjuna. Not once does he command him to do anything. It's pure transmission of pure knowledge about what life is, what the world is, and in the end, Arjuna himself, with his own will, accepts, and he says that yes, now my confusion is removed. Now this is so different from the Abrahamic religions,
Right.
where there's no question of arguing. You either obey God or go to hell forever.
Right.
And so, if the world is to be saved, it has to be saved by our philosophy of total freedom of thought and action. And let everybody worship the way he wants to worship, or not worship. So that's why I feel so strongly for Hindu dharma, survival Hindus, because if we don't survive, the civilization will not survive as we know it. And I firmly believe in that. I can discuss that with anybody, anywhere, anytime.
An insightful answer indeed, Dr. Basant Tariyal ji. What do you think is the relevance of Hindu dharma?
I guess I just answered that question already.
Okay.
The relevance is that the Hindu dharma, with this philosophy, with this basic tenets,
Right.
the key of which is the freedom of thought and action. Everybody can do what he wants to do. Nobody's going to force you. That is the only way for the world to survive a humongous conflict. With all the destruction, the mass weapons of mass destruction today,
Right.
I mean, the nuclear, the nuclear weapons in the world today, they can destroy the world like 50, 100 times over.
Right.
There's so many of them around, right? And so, but the Hindu philosophy, Hindu dharma is the one. Hindu by mean I include Jain dharma, Buddhist dharma,
Right.
Sikh dharma, even Confucius and all the Eastern philosophy.
Right.
We are the only ones, our philosophy which will save the world. That's what the relevance really is.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Basant Tariyal ji. Are there any threats to the Hindu way of life in USA and globally? What are the threats you perceive?
I already mentioned the threats from the academic assault and how our children, if they don't understand this threat, because such subtle threat, and unfortunately, all our educated so-called intellectuals in India, almost 90% of them, they have been educated by the Western philosophy, and they've been totally steeped in that. And they don't see the threat either. And if they don't see the threat, we don't see the threat, we can be easily taken over by conversion, for example, and or by sheer killing, like is happening in the Islamic world today. Yazidis in Iraq, they're very close to Hindus. Okay?
Right.
And they've been given a choice to convert or die. And so the threat is actually it's a dual threat. The subtle threat from the Western people who want to just convert us to their way of thinking,
Right.
and the brainwashed intellectuals of ours who don't see the threat.
Right.
Okay, so that's really a big threat.
Thank you, Dr. Basant Tariyal ji. And my last question to you is, who is your hero?
Yeah, that's a good question. I like that. By the way, I have answered this question as a senior executive in one of the blue chip corporations in U.S. Uh, I have attended many senior courses in famous universities and all that, and everywhere this question is asked.
Okay.
In the first session, first dinner,
Right.
and that dinner, the ground rules are that whatever happens or spoken in that introductory dinner,
Right.
everybody forgets about it after that.
Okay.
So they asked me who is my hero, and I have always said, and I still do, my hero is Sri Krishna.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Basant Tariyal ji, for being at World Hindu News Hindu Talk Show. And before we conclude, would like to know how the Hindus can reach you in America and India, via which organization to work with you and your organization in the cause for Hindus.
Okay, they can here they can reach me through my number or USHA number. In India, they can reach me through Vidya Bharati,
Okay.
through Shiksha Sanskriti Utthan Nyas
Okay.
of Dinanath Batra,
Okay.
and a sponsor of Vidya Bharati, Sri R.P. Khetan
Okay.
in Delhi.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Basant Tariyal ji, for being here at World Hindu News Hindu Talk Show and giving insights to worldwide audience about the issues in academia, the threats, physical, ideological, your passion, cause, and our hero, Lord Shri Krishna. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Rahul, very much. Just by the way, I don't use the word Lord because that's not our word. I always say Sri Krishna. Thank you, and I really wish the Hindu network to be very successful, simply because I believe that this is a voice of the Hindus.
Yes.
And I would encourage all the audiences to support the Hindu network whichever way they can.
Thank you so
All
much.
the best for you.
Thank you for the well wishes, Dr. Tariyal ji. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you.